ocean's smiling angels, right? Wrong. They're not majestic ocean beings. They're aquatic con artists with a full-time PR team. And today, we're blowing the whistle on flippers' lies these so-called geniuses gang up on porpoises for fun. They'll drown a baby dolphin while the mum's off, doing backflips for tourists. And don't get us started on the smile. That's not joy, that's their face permanently stuck on fake nice yep. Dolphins are nature's biggest scam. Beautiful, manipulative, and a little unhinged. So next time you see a dolphin, remember, it's not smiling at you, it's laughing at your delusion.
Iconic dolphin grin? Yeah, turns out it's not joy, it's biological gaslighting. That smile is hardwired. Dolphins can't frown, grimace, or even smirk. They're evolution's most tragic clowns, stuck with a permanent expression that screams, "Everything's fine," while their souls are screaming, "Make it stop!" Fun fact, they're one of the only animals on Earth that commit suicide on purpose. Dolphins have full voluntary control over their breathing, so when life gets too real, they just stop. Breathing. Literally give up. Let that sink in. And captivity? Oh boy. Dolphins in tanks develop ulcers, anxiety, PTSD, and show signs of chronic depression, all while looking like they're posing for a cruise ship brochure. Imagine living in a world where someone blasts an air horn in your ears every 10 minutes. That's sonar to a dolphin. Their echolocation is so sensitive, it's like feeling every sound through your bones. Constant boat traffic? Industrial sonar? It's like living in a dubstep concert from hell. But hey, don't worry. As long as they're doing tricks and smiling for the crowd, we assume they're fine, because that's how humans process trauma, with a beach ball and applause. These so-called smart mammals, they form strategic alliances, not for peace, but to launch coordinated female kidnappings for breeding. Think dolphin Tinder, but with zero consent and a lot more ramming.
Affirmative. Yep, some dolphins use sea sponges as tools, or better yet, as brass knuckles to bash around seafloor critters while keeping their snouts protected. Literal street brawlers of the coral world.
Darker. Dolphins have been documented, assaulting turtles, eels, even other dolphins, and don't even think the babies are safe. Male dolphins often practice infanticide, killing newborn calves just to force the grieving mother back into heat. Evolution's bleakest love story. Yet, they're the stars of kids' aquariums, the poster children of marine joy. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're pulling off crimes that would land a that thing you do after binge watching Netflix at 3 a.m. with crumbs on your shirt and no regrets. Now imagine doing that with one eye open, forever. Welcome to a dolphin's actual nightmare. Dolphins are the ocean's insomniacs by design. They can't fully fall asleep like we do. Why? Because they're voluntary breathers. If they completely shut down their brain, like a normal animal, they drown. Game over. Mother Nature, in her infinite cosmic comedy, gave them the gift of hellish compromise. They shut down one hemisphere of their brain at a time, while the other half stays awake, scanning for predators, ships, and existential dread. In sleep mode, dolphins must consciously rise to breathe every few minutes. Imagine trying to nap while someone pokes your ribs every 6 minutes yelling, "Breathe or die." Sleepwalking? More like sleep swimming. They swim in slow robotic circles while half asleep. So yeah, their sleep mode looks more like a haunted Roomba than a peaceful slumber. Prolonged sleep deprivation can make them disoriented, leading to strandings, where dolphins literally beach themselves in a confused, sleep-starved haze. That's right. Some scientists believe lack of REM may explain many unexplained beachings, who are basically dolphins in boss mode, intentionally push smaller dolphins into shallow waters to kill them, often while they're weak, tired, or just trying to rest. Newborn dolphins don't sleep at all for the first 4-8 weeks of life. Instead, they stay constantly active, swimming close to mom in an endless, sleepless marathon. Meanwhile, mom also doesn't sleep. Welcome to Motherhood, Marine Edition. dolphins are the misunderstood geniuses of the ocean. Adorable, acrobatic, emotionally complex, blah blah blah. But here's the grossest truth they don't show you on Blue Planet. Dolphins are swimming toxic waste dumps, living, breathing biohazards with flippers. Those shiny little fish they toss at dolphins in marine parks? Yeah, those aren't just lunch, they're mercury grenades. And mercury? It doesn't just give you memory loss and tremors. In dolphins, it's been linked to seizures, immune collapse, and brain damage. Imagine being the smartest animal in the sea and slowly forgetting how to echolocate. Dolphin moms pass massive amounts of toxins directly to their calves through their milk. Mercury, PCBs, DDT. It's like nursing your baby with a chemical cocktail from Chernobyl. And it gets worse. On the U.S. coasts, Florida, Louisiana, California, dolphins are turning into marine cancer clusters, like literal floating tumors. Researchers have found dolphins riddled with skin lesions, reproductive tumors, stomach cancers, deformed livers. Why? Because our coastlines are chemical toilets. In Sarasota Bay, over 60% of tested dolphins had PFAS in their bloodstream. Those are the forever chemicals found in fire retardant, Teflon, and microwave popcorn bags. Let that sink in. Dolphins are basically full of the same crap we use to waterproof camping gear. Let's list everything dolphins are currently absorbing through their diet or habitat. Mercury, from power plants and runoff. PCBs, from industrial waste dumped into rivers since the 60s. DDT, banned in the U.S. in 1972, but still haunting marine mammals today. PFAS, forever chemicals. They bind to proteins, resist breakdown, and never leave their bloodstream. Microplastics, swallowed from contaminated fish and passed into their organs. At this point, dolphins have more in common with a Walmart cleaning aisle than with a natural ecosystem. And here's the real kicker. Dolphins are our biological early warning system. They live near coasts, eat what we eat, and absorb the same poisons. Even the dolphins not living near industrial outflows have sky-high toxin loads. Why? Because ocean currents carry poisons globally. In fact, dolphins near the Arctic Circle, literal miles from civilization, still test positive for mercury and flame retardants. It's like discovering your water is filled with Red Bull.
Picture this. You're called a hero of the seas, a smiling genius, a symbol of peace and intelligence. And yet, the very species that put you on t-shirts is quietly, methodically killing you. Welcome to the ocean's greatest betrayal. This isn't a story of accidents. It's deliberate, strategic, systematic. Let's dive into how humans exploit dolphins in the name of entertainment, warfare, and profit while pretending it's love. Start with sonar, those innocent little pings we bounce off the ocean floor. They're basically underwater flashbangs. The U.S. Navy's low-frequency active sonar is so loud, it's been measured at 235 decibels. That's louder than a Saturn V rocket launch, and it travels for hundreds of miles underwater. When a dolphin hears that, it's like standing next to a jet engine and having your ears explode. They suffer internal bleeding, disorientation, and panic. What happens next? Mass strandings. Entire pods beach themselves to escape the pain. Many never return to the sea. Fact drop. Navy tests have been directly linked to mass strandings in the Bahamas, 2000, Canary Islands, 2002, and Madagascar, 2008. Some dolphins were found bleeding from the brain. Now here's a twist. While sonar kills them, the U.S. Navy also hires dolphins. Since the Cold War, the Navy has spent $28 million per year training dolphins to detect mines, guard harbors, tag enemy divers, fetch explosives from the seafloor. Sound impressive? Sure. Until you realize the dolphins have no choice. Receive frozen fish as payment. Were literally used to drag bombs in the Vietnam War. Yes, Flipper was weaponized. Who needs sharks with frickin' lasers when you've got dolphins with depth charges? You've seen it. Swim with dolphins, they said. It's magical. Yeah, if your definition of magic involves severe dolphin psychosis. In these programs, dolphins are confined to chlorinated lagoons the size of swimming pools, fed on frozen fish lacking nutrients, forced to interact with thousands of strangers every week. Many develop aggression toward trainers and swimmers, teeth grinding and self-harm, refusal to eat. One study found that dolphins in interactive parks displayed signs of clinical depression and PTSD. Because they're not smiling, their faces are locked like that. Let's talk tuna. Ever seen dolphin safe on a can? Hate to break it to you, it's mostly marketing BS. Over 300,000 dolphins are killed every year as bycatch in commercial fishing, caught in tuna percent nets, suffocated because dolphins can't breathe underwater, discarded like garbage once they're dead. Fun fact, dolphins often swim with tuna, so fishing fleets target dolphin pods to locate tuna schools. They use speedboats and helicopters to herd them. It's like hunting whales with drones. Fact drop, a dolphin dies every 2 minutes due to bycatch.
In the wild, dolphins can live up to 50 years.
In captivity, try 10 to 15, sometimes less. The tanks are too small. The sounds are amplified, causing acoustic trauma. And the constant stress shuts down their immune systems. Some dolphins have been seen floating motionless for hours, eyes open, just existing. It's not training. It's torture, dressed as entertainment. And yes, it gets worse. In dolphin tourism centers, calves are often removed from their mothers to be hand-trained. Mothers scream for days. Calves cry, refuse to eat, and some die. Why? Because a baby dolphin makes for better Instagram reels. Fact drop. Over 80% of dolphin calves born in captivity die before age 5. Female dolphins often have to be forced into heat with hormones for breeding programs. Humans wear dolphins on t-shirts, make them mascots of peace, paint them on murals, while slowly driving them mad, deaf, sterile, and extinct. We love them so much, we made them suffer in HD. If betrayal had a face, it would be a dolphin, trapped behind a smile. You know that dolphin smile we all love? The emoji, the cartoons, the aquarium posters? Yeah, it's a lie, a cruel evolutionary glitch. They physically can't frown, even when they're literally dying inside. That permanent smile, it's fooled generations. But behind that fixed face, extreme sensory deprivation, chronic PTSD from noise trauma, and in some cases, suicidal behavior. Yep, they just stop breathing. Dolphins are one of the only non-human animals known to take their own lives. And people film them doing backflips with squeaky music. Let's break down what captive dolphin life actually looks like. A glorified bathtub with walls that bounce sounds like a prison riot. Dead fish injected with antibiotics and antacids because the stress gives them ulcers. Chlorine exposure so bad, trainers wear goggles. Dolphins don't get that luxury. And when they get too sick, quietly retired behind the scenes. They live 20 to 25 years less than their wild cousins. That's like locking a human in a closet and wondering why they don't do magic tricks anymore. Ever see those heartbreaking videos of mass strandings? Pods of dolphins, sometimes hundreds at a time, flopping helplessly on sandbars? Not random. That's often sonar trauma, pollution-induced disorientation, or, here's the kicker, follow the leader deaths. They're so socially wired that if one dolphin beaches itself, the others follow, even if they know it's a death march. Fact drop. In 2017, over 400 dolphins stranded in 1 month on the Atlantic coast. Most had ruptured eardrums and toxic levels of mercury in their organs. Commercial fishing doesn't just accidentally catch dolphins. Sometimes, entire pods are encircled on purpose to catch tuna beneath them. The babies drown first. Then the mothers break their fins trying to reach them. And when hauled on deck, still smiling, because they don't know how not to. And we turn them into mascots. Schools use dolphins on their logos. Cruise ships offer dolphin petting tours. Influencers jump in tanks for reels that rake millions. Meanwhile, the subject of the selfie is slowly losing hearing, losing mobility, and losing the will to live. Look, we've proven dolphins aren't saints. They commit infanticide, gang violence, war crimes, and sometimes necrophilia. So you think they deserve the punishment, right? Wrong. They didn't choose this life.
Disappointed. Even after all the documentaries, viral posts, and science-backed horror stories, people still pay $200 to kiss a dolphin in a chemically saturated resort pool. Emphatic fact drop. Serious. 2024. Over 2,000 captive dolphins worldwide still perform daily. Disappointed. 83% of tourists believe dolphins in captivity are well cared for. Muttering, spoiler, they're not. Warning. So the next time you see that smile, think twice. Emphatic, it's not happiness. Firm, it's not joy. Disgusted, it's not majestic ocean intelligence. Somber, it's the face of sleep deprivation, sound torture, mercury poisoning, social breakdown, emotional collapse. Horrified, and being turned into a mascot for its own extinction. Somber, a smile stretched across a silent screen. Passionate, want real change? Stop funding the tanks. Support ocean sanctuaries. Share facts, not fantasy. Thoughtful, and if you've made it this far, you're clearly not afraid of hard truths. Curious, so tell us. Playful, which animal deserves the next roast? Teasing, sloths, lazy liars. Teasing, koalas, drugged up goblins. Teasing, penguins, flightless frauds. Energetic, comment, subscribe. Unleash the truth.